Today I want to talk about how my quote unquote motivation wanes after certain gatherings, specifically ones where I'm a normal person, right? Where I do things that people normally do, and what that means for me. So, the reason I'm making this is, you know, the life that I'm choosing, the life that us entrepreneurs are choosing. If you're watching this, chances are you're an entrepreneur. You'll know that, we're sacrificing a lot of things to get to where we are, right? For example, me, I don't hang out with too many friends outside of badminton. I play badminton because it's a source of exercise, it's a source of, what's the word, socialization that I really love. And I love these people, right? I love these friends, and I'm not saying at all that trying to push them away or because they're not the same as me. I don't want to hang out with them. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. I want to preface that. Nothing like that. But in certain circumstances where out of my day, outside of my routine, I decide to do this, it always takes my motivation and takes my capacity to work down. So I just had a friend that I was visiting for a couple days, and friend is awesome. And I love this guy. This guy, him and his family, super nice. I love them so much. And coming back right to where I am right now to sitting down, it's hard for me to get back into the flow. And I experienced this quite a bit. I want to talk about how this works for me and how I alleviate it. And then, if you something similar, how you can take from my experience and move that forward. So whenever I come back from this, and this is usually in senses where I'm gone for a while. So, I saw my friend for it was like day and a half. We were gonna go somewhere together. Then I hit the ditch. If anyone was watching my Instagram, hit the ditch. But yeah, like whenever I come back from this, where I'm having fun with these people. I should say these people. I'm having fun with my friends, but in a sense where it's like what people normally do, right? Like for me, some of the stuff I have fun doing is reading, right? If I'm on a call with my boy on Discord, we're talking about the business. I like that, or we're just acting stupid, but it's always with an undertone of getting work done, right? And in this sense, I wasn't getting work done. And in that, I always come home and I feel like I don't want to do this. Like I never think, it's okay if I turn out to be a normal person, and I'm saying that with nothing bad attached. At the end of the day, everyone lives for themselves and lives for what they think is most important. But within that, have so much fun, right? I have enjoy my time so much that when I go back, I think this is boring. I just had time of my life. Us humans reading a book right now, Social by Matthew Lieberman, I believe is his name, and just a whole bunch of other books I read. Like if you guys study psychology, anything, we're social creatures, right? The social aspect of our lives are super important. Super important. Like we live and die for this. And when I have fun doing that, really what else in my mind psychologically is there that I'm missing out on? Now, that's how I feel. And how do I actually remedy this? How do I attack this to make sure that I still get my work done, right? Because at the end of the day, I have a mission. I have to achieve this mission. I can stop and smell the flowers once in a while. For everyone, that ratio is different. And really, I haven't done this in probably a few months, right? Maybe once a quarter I'll do mine. But anyways, when I get back, it's super important for me to just get right back into work, right? It's really hard to force myself, even me getting off the couch. Another example of this, right? Family's watching a TV show. Super interesting. I love that stuff. I had to force myself to get off the couch and come here, which isn't usually what I have to do, but I had to. And that's because, again, I'm in that rhythm that's so fun for me, right? That's so fun. Me doing all of this stuff. At the end of the day, I don't just sit here and force myself to do everything because I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But after a while, right, you get used to it. And I think I'm living my life, right? Like the only source of dopamine that I want to have is music. And then reading, reading you get dopamine, then your work you get dopamine. But, some are outsized more than others, like junk food, corn. That stuff is like, way more than we should have. So I stay away from all of that. Only dopamine I try to do is music. Now, I actually did an experiment where I didn't listen to music, and it didn't go very well. I was like fiending for something, and then I would turn on to my bad habits. So I'm like, okay, that's enough. Music is an okay habit. It's a good habit, right? Because you can work, you can focus, all of this. And so that's that. But going back to what I was saying, right? When I do this work, when I'm in the flow, even just at my job, and I'm working, 10, 12, 13-hour shifts, it's very boring, right? Like there's no other word for it. It's really boring. And then when I come home and I hop on, make a YouTube video, work on some stuff, talk with my boy, it can be fun, but it's way less fun than if I were to just jump on the couch, start scrolling, watching, TV, eating junk food, all of this. And so when I get out of that situation where my dopamine baseline, and this is something that my mentor talked about, right? In the morning, you want to swallow the frog. What swallowing the frog means, it's like, this is your dopamine, right? You want to do something super boring. You want to do something, let's say it's scale 1 to 10. You want to do something that's a 1. And then when you do something that's a 2, you're going to enjoy it more. And then from a 2, you maybe do something to a 3. You enjoy that more, right? And then let's say you eat goes to a 6. Might have to go back down to a 3, but it's way easier than if you start the day at a 10, right? If you start the day with junk food, with any sort of bad habit, and then you have to go to a 1. Do you know how hard that is, right? That's a 9% discrepancy. It's going to be very hard for you. And so for me, I always keep that baseline at like that, for me, I would say that like 1 to 4 range, that 1 to 3 range. And then when I do that, where everything is super fun, I don't have to, be engaging my brain all the time. I can just kind of chill on autopilot with my friends. That's like an 8, right? That's like a 7, 8, 9. And when I had 2 days straight of just 7, 8, 9, and I have to go back down to a, 1, 2, 3, 4, even just 9 to 1, right? That's 8. That is a lot different. And having that, this is all friction, right? If you guys don't know like what kind of friction I'm talking about, basically your bad habits, your habits is going to be less likely to happen if there's friction, right? Good habits, what you want to do is create the least amount of friction possible. Bad habits, you want to create the most amount of friction possible. I've got rid of a lot of my bad habits because of this, right? Set up systems that make it hard for me to do the bad things and make it easy for me to do the good things. Really, I can make a video just about habits. Like I love talking about habits. I love talking about systems, routines, but going back to that, right? When I come back and I'm going from a 9 to a 1, there's 8% of friction there. Now, unless I get home and like, I force myself to sit down on my chair and hop on Discord and call with my boy, how can I create a system like that, right? And that's actually not to say that there isn't. I could definitely do that. But it's going to be way harder than if I wake up at 6, like I've been doing for the past, 5 months, go drink my glass of water, go to the bathroom, come back, sit on the couch for, let's say, 10 minutes, just kind of not meditate, but just like think about the day, just completely free mind, and then go on my computer where it's already open from the night before and I'm doing whatever it is that I want to do that's being productive. It's way easier than me coming home after 2 days with my friends, just went swimming, right? Come back, eat some junk food, sit on the couch, scroll on my phone, answer texts, and then try to sit back here. Which one do you think is going to be way easier, right? And so that is why. Now, how I do this and how I remedy this, just jump straight into work. Now, people say, and this is another topic I could really touch on. Actually, I'm going to write these down before I forget. But people say that like, oh, why can't you just do it? Why can't you just rely on willpower? Right? And I think that is a stupid argument. And I will tell you why. So, and I've read many books, many studies on this, but your willpower works like a muscle. Right? Your willpower isn't just something that you can just turn on and off. It works like a muscle, right? They did studies. This is how I always explain it. They did studies, and people, it was like they made them solve a puzzle, and then in one room there was a big cake in the middle, and they were told you can't eat this cake, and then in another room there wasn't. And then afterwards, I think they were like presented cake again, right? This time different cake. The people who had cake in the middle of the room told that they couldn't eat it while solving the puzzle. It was like 9 out of 10 of them broke that rule when they were presented cake again. Now, to the people who didn't have the cake sitting in front, they solved that puzzle, right? They were told you can't have cake. I think only like one person did it, or zero. But that goes into the example that, people told you can't eat this, and it's a sugar, fat, salty, sweet, savory filled cake that us as humans, right? The things that we interpret are, super valuable to us. And you get that, they all failed, right? Because their willpower is being used, right? It works as a muscle. And so when I get home, all of my willpower just has to be conjured into the one thing, just getting me back on. Once I'm back on and kind of get into that groove. It's super boring, but starting is the hardest part, right? And this is for a lot of things, right? This is for anything. Starting is the hardest part. And so when I get back from this, I have to force myself, just get on. As soon as I get on, I'm good. I'm kind of back in that flow. Even though I started at a 9, I'm at that 1, but guess what? All that friction, that was me getting back on here. That was me making this video. Like, I didn't want to make this video. I just want to sit on the couch. Right? I gotta go to bed in like an hour. But I would have rather just sat on the couch, done nothing, didn't post, didn't hop on call with my boy, nothing. Just, did that and just went straight to bed. But no, I can't. Again, I got that mission. But that's basically what I wanted to touch on, and that's how I get over that. Now, for you yourself, and you probably experienced this too. Like, I haven't actually seen this talked about a lot, but I'm sure that something very similar happens with people. But I know for me, like, as soon as I get into one of those situations, like even on my now vacation's a little bit different because it's different with my friends and with my family. But when I get back after that, when I get back, badminton's a huge one. I love badminton. Again, I've talked about this before. Badminton's the only thing that is like as important to me that I enjoy as much as my online business. When I do something for badminton, oh man, I was like, I don't even care, man. I just want to do badminton for the rest of my life, right? But again, I know that I can't do that. And then the hardest thing is just getting back onto that, right? Getting back on track and getting that thing done. So for you yourself, if you're something similar to that, you just got to swallow that frog, right? You may be at a 9 going to a 1, but it's that friction that's all erased as soon as you hop on your computer, open that application on your phone, whatever that is. And then from there, you can get back into your rhythms. At the end of the day, rhythms are how frameworks. George James Clear talked about this, Atomic Habits. It's actually a book I've been wanting to reread. Probably set that as one of my next week things. But he talks about this is like, you got to have frameworks, right? You can't just rely on willpower. You have to have things that you can do so that you do it all the time. For me, one of my frameworks, every single Monday, today's Monday, I got to do this. After this video, I'll make a list of the things I need to do for the week. And after I have that list, when I'm doing my work on the weekend, I'm never having to guess, right? I'm never having to hop on my computer and think, okay, what is it I need to do? All that friction, right? Very easy for me to hop off track, for me to not be as productive as I could. And so that's just one thing I do, right? That's a framework, but it all comes down to the frameworks. And as soon as you have a framework you can get into, it's getting into that. It's hard, but as soon as you do that, you're going to be home free. So that's the video that I want to make. That's the idea that I wanted to touch on. If you guys are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. Follow me for the journey. Again, I'm going to be something spectacular. I know that it's not cockiness, but it's confidence. Follow my Instagram, more daily updates on my AI agency, trying to build $1 million AI agency. Me and my boy, tons of progress so far. As well, join my free AI agency Discord completely for free. Me and my boy, tens of thousands of dollars invested into this. For completely free sauce, completely free to join. Make sure to join that. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Above all, stay wise.